Welcome to Soft Light Theory, where science becomes story and healing begins in the quiet. Today marks the beginning of our new series, Feeling Good, the New Mood Therapy, by Dr. David D. Burns. Across these episodes, we'll explore the emotional architecture of your mind and how gentle awareness can reshape the way you feel. In Episode 1, How to Stop Negative Thinking, we'll walk through 10 chapters that reveal how distorted thoughts quietly shape your mood and how you can begin to reclaim peace, one insight at a time. Before we begin, we'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from tonight? Drop your time and place in the comments. Let's light up the map with soft minds and curious hearts. This is your moment. Let the soft light guide you inward. Chapter 1. The Thought Beneath the Feeling. The summary of this chapter: you begin by noticing the quiet voice beneath emotion. Thoughts shape your mood, not with force, but with repetition. Tonight, you explore how cognition and feeling intertwine and how awareness begins the soft unraveling of pain. Your mind listens and begins to loosen. You lie down. The room dims. The day exhales. And in the hush that follows, your mind begins to listen. Not to the noise, but to the quiet voice beneath it. The one that hums beneath emotion, soft and persistent, like water beneath ice. You feel something, a heaviness, a flicker of sadness, a quiet ache that doesn't ask for attention, but doesn't leave either. And then you notice it, a thought. It doesn't shout, it doesn't argue, it simply repeats, like a whisper in a hallway. I'm not enough. Or maybe, I should have done better. Or perhaps, they don't really care. You've heard it before. It wears many faces, but its rhythm is familiar. This is the thought beneath the feeling. Not loud, but steady. Not true, but practiced. Your brain, in its quiet brilliance, has rehearsed this thought like a melody, not because it's helpful, but because it's known. And known feels safe. Even when it hurts, you begin to observe, not with judgment, but with curiosity, like watching a leaf float downstream. You notice how the thought shapes your breath, tightens your chest, shortens your inhale. You notice how it colors your mood, a subtle tint, like dusk over daylight. This is the dance between cognition and emotion, a slow, invisible choreography that plays out in your nervous system. Science calls it cognitive affective integration. But tonight, you simply feel it as a ripple that begins in thought and moves through feeling and settles in the body. You remember a moment, perhaps long ago, when someone's words brushed against your skin like cold wind. You're too much. You're too quiet. You're not what I expected. And so, a thought was planted, not by you, but by the world. And over time, it grew roots. Now, when emotion rises, a wave of shame, a flicker of doubt, the thought returns, like a shadow, cast by old light. But tonight, you do not resist it. You do not chase it away. You simply notice. This is awareness, not the kind that fixes, but the kind that softens. You ask a gentle question. Is this thought helping me feel safe? The answer is quiet, but it arrives. Number. It's not safety the thought offers. It's repetition. And repetition, though familiar, is not always kind. You begin to see how your brain, in its effort to protect you, has rehearsed this thought like a lullaby. Neurons fire, patterns repeat, and the feeling follows. But now, you are awake inside the pattern, not alarmed, not afraid, just awake. You imagine your brain as a forest of pathways. Some trails are wide and well-worn. Others are faint, waiting to be discovered. The thought beneath the feeling is one of those wide trails, easy to follow, hard to leave. But tonight, you pause at the edge. You look around, and you wonder what other paths might exist. This is neuroplasticity, not as a theory, but as a lived experience. Your awareness is the first step toward change, not dramatic change, not overnight transformation, but the kind that begins with noticing. You notice the thought, you notice the feeling, you notice the space between them, and in that space, you breathe. You imagine the thought as a thread woven into a tapestry of memory and meaning. You do not pull it out. You do not cut it. You simply trace it with your finger, curious where it leads. It leads to a moment you had forgotten, a glance, a silence, a room where you felt unseen. And suddenly, the feeling makes sense. Not because it's true, but because it was learned. You begin to understand that emotion is not random. It is a response to the stories your brain has practiced. And those stories can be rewritten, not with force, not with denial, but with gentle repetition. You imagine a new thought, not a perfect one, not a shiny affirmation, just a quiet possibility. I am learning to listen. Or perhaps, this feeling is not the whole of me. You whisper it, not aloud, but inside your breath. And your body responds. Your shoulders soften. Your jaw unclenches. Your heart feels less guarded. This is the science of self-compassion, not as a slogan, but as a physiological shift. When you offer yourself kindness, your brain releases oxytocin. Your vagus nerve hums. Your immune system relaxes. You are not just thinking differently. You are healing. Slowly, gently, like moss growing over stone. You begin to see how every thought is a seed. Some grow thorns, some grow flowers, and some, when held with care, grow wings. Tonight, you hold your thoughts like feathers, not to judge, not to fix, just to feel their texture. And in this garden, you are the gardener, not the weather, not the soil, but the one who chooses what to tend. You choose to tend the thought that says, I am allowed to feel. You choose to water the thought that says, my emotions are messengers, not mistakes. And as you do, the feeling beneath the thought begins to shift. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't resolve, but it loosens, like a knot that no longer pulls. You lie there, still and soft, and you notice how awareness is not a spotlight, but a lantern. It doesn't chase shadows, it simply glows. And in that glow, you begin to see how your mind is not your enemy. It is your companion, sometimes confused, sometimes afraid, but always trying to protect you. You thank it, not with words, but with breath. And your breath becomes a lullaby. You drift, not away from thought, but deeper into it, into the quiet place where emotion begins. And as you drift, a question rises. If thoughts shape feeling, what shapes thought? You do not answer. You simply float toward the next chapter, where mirrors begin to speak, and you learn how reflection can sometimes distort what's most true. Chapter 2. The Mind's Mirror. The summary of this chapter: your thoughts reflect your beliefs, but mirrors can distort. You explore cognitive distortions, the patterns that twist perception, and how gentle awareness begins to clear the glass. Tonight, you learn to see your mind's reflections with softness and begin to notice what's real beneath the fog. You lie still. The room is quiet. Your breath moves like a tide, slow and rhythmic, pulling you inward. Thoughts begin to rise, not loud, not urgent, just familiar. You see them, like reflections in a mirror. They feel true, they feel sharp. But something inside you wonders, is this mirror clean? You begin to notice how your mind reflects the world, not always as it is, but as it fears, as it remembers, as it believes. This is the mind's mirror, and sometimes it distorts. You think of a funhouse mirror, the kind that stretches your shape, bends your edges, makes you laugh, or makes you uneasy. Your thoughts can do that too. They can stretch a moment into a catastrophe. They can bend a glance into rejection. They can twist silence into judgment. These are cognitive distortions, not flaws, not failures, just patterns. Patterns your brain learned to protect you, to prepare you, to make sense of things that once felt too big. You begin to notice one, all or nothing thinking. A voice that says, if I'm not perfect, I've failed. Or, if they didn't smile, they must hate me. It's a harsh mirror. It shows only extremes, no middle, no nuance, just black or white. You breathe into it, you soften. You ask, is there a gentler way to see this? Another distortion appears, overgeneralization. A single moment becomes a rule. I always mess up. Nothing ever works out. You feel the weight of always. You feel the ache of never. And you begin to see how these words fog the glass. You imagine your thoughts as weather on the mirror, steam, rain, dust. Each distortion adds a layer, and beneath it, your true reflection waits. You notice mental filtering, the way your mind focuses only on the negative. The compliment fades, the criticism echoes. It's not your fault. Your brain evolved to notice danger, to protect you. But tonight, you remind it that safety can include joy. You whisper, I can notice what's good. And the mirror clears, just a little. You see another pattern, disqualifying the positive. You did well, but you say, it doesn't count. They were just being nice. You feel the dismissal. You feel the shrinking. And you begin to wonder what it would feel like to let the good things stay. You breathe. You soften. You allow. Another distortion rises, jumping to conclusions. You assume what others think. You predict what will go wrong. Your mind, trying to be helpful, writes stories without evidence. You pause. You ask, what else could be true? You don't need an answer. Just the question begins to clear the glass. You notice magnification. A small mistake becomes enormous. A tiny flaw feels unbearable. You feel the pressure. You feel the shame. And you begin to see how your mind can turn a pebble into a mountain. You breathe. You shrink the mountain back to stone. You notice emotional reasoning. I feel worthless, so I must be. I feel anxious, so something bad will happen. You begin to separate feeling from fact, not to dismiss emotion, but to hold it gently without letting it define you. You whisper, my feelings are real, but they are not the whole story. And the mirror clears again. You see labeling. I'm a failure. I'm broken. I'm stupid. You feel the sting of identity wrapped in judgment, and you begin to unwrap it. You are not a label. You are a process, a breath, a becoming. You notice personalization. You blame yourself for things beyond your control. They're upset. It must be my fault. The meeting went badly. I ruined it. You feel the burden. You feel the guilt. And you begin to release it. You whisper, I am not responsible for every storm. And the mirror clears. You begin to see how these distortions are not enemies. They are habits, learned responses, protective reflexes. Your brain, trying to help, sometimes twists the glass. But tonight, you hold the mirror with kindness. You do not smash it. You do not polish it perfectly. You simply breathe on it and let the fog lift. You imagine your thoughts as birds in a sky. Some fly straight, some spiral, some flap wildly. You do not cage them. You do not chase them. You simply watch. And in watching, you begin to understand. Your thoughts are not facts, they are reflections, and reflections can change. You lie there, soft and open, and you begin to notice the space between thought and truth. It's not a gap, it's a doorway into awareness, into choice, into peace. You whisper, I can question what I see, and your mind listens, not with resistance, but with relief. You begin to feel how gentle awareness is, like sunlight on a foggy mirror. It doesn't force clarity, it invites it. And slowly, the distortions fade. Not all at once, not forever, but enough to glimpse something true. You see yourself, not perfectly, not completely, but clearly enough to feel warmth. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are learning to see. And as you drift, you begin to wonder, if thoughts can distort, what do emotions reveal? You float toward the next chapter, where feelings swirl like weather, and naming them becomes the first step in understanding their rhythm. Chapter 3. Naming the Storm. The summary of this chapter: sadness, shame, fear, they swirl like weather. Tonight, you learn to name them, not to control them, but to understand their rhythm. Emotions are not enemies, they are signals, and naming them is the first step toward peace. You lie in the quiet. The air is still. Your breath moves slowly, like mist rising from a lake at dawn. Inside you, something stirs, not loud, not sharp, just present. A heaviness, a flicker, a tightness in the chest, a drop in the belly. You don't push it away. You don't chase it. You simply notice. This is the beginning. Emotions are like weather. They roll in, unexpected, uninvited, but not meaningless. You feel one now. Sadness. It drapes over you like a soft gray blanket. Not painful, just quiet. You name it. Sadness. And something shifts. Naming the emotion doesn't make it disappear, but it gives it shape. It gives it edges. It gives you space to breathe around it. This is called affect labeling, a gentle science, a quiet skill. When you name a feeling, your brain begins to calm. The amygdala, your alarm bell, softens its grip. The prefrontal cortex, your wise observer, steps forward. You are not suppressing. You are not fixing. You are witnessing. You feel another. Shame. It curls inward, like a snail retreating into its shell. You name it. Shame. And again, the storm begins to slow. You learn that emotions are not threats. They are messengers. Each one carries a signal, a story, a need. Fear arrives. It tightens your throat. It quickens your pulse. It whispers, something might go wrong. You name it. Fear. And you listen. Not to the panic, but to the message beneath. Fear says, I want to be safe. Sadness says, I've lost something. Shame says, I want to belong. You begin to see how emotions are rooted in ancient survival. They are not flaws, they are functions. You feel anger. It burns, but not wildly. Just a flicker. You name it. Anger. And you ask, what boundary was crossed? Anger, you learn, is the body's way of saying no. You feel guilt. It presses gently on your chest. You name it. Guilt. And you ask, what value did I violate? Guilt, you learn, is the mind's way of guiding you back to integrity. You begin to see how naming emotions is like mapping a storm. You don't control the clouds. You don't stop the rain. But you understand where it's coming from and where it might go. You imagine your emotions as colors in the sky. Blue for sadness, red for anger, gray for shame, yellow for joy. Each one paints your inner world. Each one deserves to be seen. You feel joy. It sparkles. It lifts. It dances. You name it. Joy. And you let it stay. You learn that naming is not just for the heavy feelings. It's for the light ones too. You name gratitude. You name pride. You name peace. And each time, your brain grows more fluent in the language of emotion. This is emotional granularity, the ability to name feelings with precision, not just bad or good, but disappointed, hopeful, lonely, content. The more precise the name, the more power you have to respond wisely. You feel overwhelmed. You name it. You feel envy. You name it. You feel relief. You name it. And each time, the storm slows. You begin to see how emotions are layered. Sadness beneath anger. Fear beneath control. Shame beneath silence. You peel them gently, like petals from a flower. Not to dissect, but to understand. You learn that emotions are not permanent. They rise, they peak, they fall, like waves, like wind, like weather. You do not need to fix them. You do not need to fight them. You only need to name them and let them pass. You feel resistance. You name it. You feel curiosity. You name it. And you begin to trust that every emotion has a rhythm. You imagine yourself as a lighthouse in the storm, still, bright, watching. The waves crash, the clouds swirl, but you remain. You are not the storm. You are the witness. You feel grief. You name it. You feel longing. You name it. And you begin to see how naming is a form of self-compassion. You are saying, I see you. I hear you. I'm here. You feel numbness. You name it. You feel confusion. You name it. And even when the feeling has no clear name, you stay curious. You whisper, what are you trying to tell me? You learn that emotions are not problems. They are guides. You feel anticipation. You name it. You feel dread. You name it. And you begin to notice how naming creates distance. Not disconnection, but space. Space to choose. Space to breathe. Space to respond. You lie there, soft and open, and you begin to feel how your inner world is not chaotic, just unspoken. And now, you are speaking. You whisper, I feel, and the sentence becomes a bridge between sensation and meaning, between reaction and reflection. You feel empowered, not because the storm is gone, but because you understand its shape. You begin to wonder, if naming can calm the storm, can reframing change the sky? You drift toward the next chapter, where thoughts become brushstrokes and your mind learns to paint with new colors. Chapter 4. The Science of Reframing. The summary of this chapter. Your brain is not a courtroom. It is a canvas. You explore how reframing thoughts can reshape emotion and how new perspectives bloom through practice. Tonight, you learn to soften your lens and paint your inner world with gentler colors. You lie still. The day has folded itself into silence. Your breath moves slowly, like a brush gliding across paper. Inside your mind, a thought appears, sharp, certain, unkind. You hear it say, I failed. Or maybe, I'm not enough. It lands with weight. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar. You pause, you breathe, you begin to wonder, is this thought the only way to see the moment? Your brain, you learn, is not a courtroom. It does not need to judge. It does not need to punish. It is a canvas, and every thought is a stroke of paint. Some strokes are bold, some are dark, some are soft, barely visible. You begin to explore the science of reframing. Reframing is not denial. It is not pretending. It is the gentle art of seeing differently. You imagine a camera lens. Zoomed in, the scene looks chaotic. Zoomed out, you see the whole picture. Your thoughts are lenses, and reframing is the act of adjusting the focus. You feel the thought again. I failed. You ask, what else could be true? You remember the effort, the courage, the learning. You reframe, I tried something hard. I learned something new. I showed up. and the emotion shifts, not because you forced it, but because you offered it a new shape. This is cognitive reappraisal, a process your brain is wired to do. When you reframe a thought, your prefrontal cortex speaks gently to your limbic system. It says, "There's another way to see this," and your body listens. Your heart slows, your breath deepens, your muscles soften. You feel the shift not just in your mind, but in your whole being. You try again. A thought rises. They didn't reply. They must be upset. You pause. You breathe. You ask, what else could be true? You reframe. They might be busy. They might be resting. It might not be about me. And again, the storm quiets. You begin to see how reframing is not about control. It's about curiosity. You are not forcing positivity. You are inviting possibility. You imagine your thoughts as windows. Some are fogged, some are cracked, some are clear. Reframing is the act of cleaning the glass, not to erase the view, but to see it more fully. You feel another thought. I'm always behind. You pause. You ask, compared to what? You reframe. I'm moving at my own pace. I'm growing in ways that aren't always visible. And the pressure lifts. You begin to notice how your thoughts shape your emotions. A harsh thought creates tension. A gentle thought creates space. You are not lying to yourself. You are speaking with kindness. You feel the difference between I'm broken and I'm healing. Between I messed up and I'm learning. Between I'm not good enough and I'm growing. Each reframe is a new color on the canvas. You begin to paint with softer strokes. You learn that reframing is a skill. It takes practice. It takes patience. Your brain loves patterns. It returns to familiar thoughts because they feel safe. But tonight, you offer it a new pattern. You whisper, what else could this mean? And your mind listens. You feel a thought rise. I'm too sensitive. You reframe. I'm deeply attuned. I feel things fully. My sensitivity is a strength. And the shame begins to melt. You feel another. I'm not doing enough. You reframe. I'm doing what I can. My worth is not measured by productivity. And the guilt begins to soften. You begin to see how reframing is not about changing the world. It's about changing how you meet it. You are not erasing pain. You are holding it with new hands. You imagine your thoughts as seeds. Some grow thorns. Some grow flowers. Reframing is choosing which ones to water. You feel a thought, this will never get better. You reframe, this is hard right now. I've survived storms before. I don't know the future, but I'm still here. And the despair begins to breathe. You begin to trust that your mind can be a gentle place. Not perfect, not always quiet, but kind. You lie there, soft and open, and you begin to feel how your thoughts can become companions. Not critics, not enemies, just voices waiting to be heard and softened. You whisper, I can choose how I speak to myself. And the canvas begins to glow. You wonder if reframing can shift emotion. What happens when the voice inside becomes truly kind? You drift toward the next chapter, where self-talk becomes a language of healing, and your words begin to shape the way you feel. Chapter 5. The Gentle Power of Self-Talk. The summary of this chapter, you speak to yourself more than anyone else. Tonight, you listen to that voice and begin to soften it. You explore how language shapes mood and how kindness rewires the mind. Words become warmth, and healing begins. You lie in the quiet. The room is still. Your breath moves slowly, like a tide brushing the shore. Inside your mind, a voice speaks, not aloud, not dramatic, just steady. It says things you've heard before. I'm not doing enough. I should be better. They probably don't care. You don't argue. You don't resist. You simply listen. This voice, the one inside, is your constant companion. You speak to yourself more than anyone else. And tonight, you begin to notice how that voice feels. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it sighs. Sometimes it repeats the same old phrases like worn-out lullabies. You begin to wonder, where did this voice learn its tone? You remember a moment, a teacher's glance, a parent's silence, a friend's offhand remark, and slowly you see how your inner voice was shaped by outer echoes. But now, you are the one listening, and you begin to ask, what kind of voice do I want to live with? This is the science of self-talk. Not just words, but wiring. Your brain responds to the language you use. It listens. It adapts. It changes. When you speak harshly, your stress response activates. Cortisol rises. Your body tightens. Your mood dims. When you speak kindly, your nervous system softens. Oxytocin flows. Your breath deepens. Your mind opens. You begin to feel how words are not just sounds. They are signals. Signals that shape your emotional landscape. You whisper, I'm trying, and your body relaxes. You whisper, I'm allowed to rest, and your heart slows. You whisper, I'm learning, and your mind begins to glow. You imagine your inner voice as a garden. Some phrases are weeds, some are wildflowers, some are seeds waiting to bloom. You begin to tend it. You notice a harsh phrase, I'm so stupid. You pause, you breathe, you reframe, I made a mistake, and I'm learning from it. The tone shifts. The soil softens. You hear another, I'll never get this right. You pause, you breathe, you reframe, this is hard, but I'm growing. And again, the garden begins to change. This is neuroplasticity. Your brain is not fixed. It is fluid. It rewires through repetition. Each kind word is a new pathway. Each gentle phrase is a bridge to calm. You begin to speak to yourself as you would to a friend. You say, it's okay to feel this. You're doing your best. You're allowed to be human. And your nervous system responds with relief. You feel the shift not just in thought, but in sensation. Your shoulders drop. Your jaw unclenches. Your breath becomes a lullaby. You learn that self-talk is not just about motivation, it's about safety. Your brain is always listening for cues. Harsh words signal danger. Kind words signal safety. You begin to choose your language with care. You whisper, I'm proud of myself for showing up. And your chest warms. You whisper, I'm allowed to take breaks. And your spine softens. You whisper, I'm enough. And your whole body begins to believe it. You imagine your inner voice as a stream. Sometimes it rushes. Sometimes it trickles. Sometimes it floods. But tonight, you guide it gently. You do not dam it. You do not divert it. You simply shape its banks with kindness. You notice a phrase that feels heavy. I'm a burden. You pause. You breathe. You reframe. I'm worthy of care. And the water clears. You notice another. I'm falling behind. You pause. You breathe. You reframe. I'm moving at my own pace. And the current slows. You begin to see how your words create your rhythm. Fast words create urgency. Soft words create peace. You choose peace. You whisper, I'm allowed to be gentle with myself. And the stream becomes still. You learn that self-talk is not just about what you say, but how you say it. Tone matters. Pacing matters. Intention matters. You speak slowly. You speak softly. You speak with care. And your brain begins to trust you. You feel a phrase rise, I'm too sensitive. You reframe, I feel deeply. And that's a gift. You feel another, I'm not strong enough. You reframe, I'm resilient, even when I bend. And your inner world begins to bloom. You imagine your thoughts as birds. Some chirp, some caw, some singing. You do not silence them. You do not cage them. You simply guide them with gentle words. You whisper, I hear you. I see you. I'm here. And the birds begin to nest. You lie there, soft and open, and you begin to feel how your voice can be a home. Not a battlefield, not a courtroom, but a sanctuary. You speak to yourself with warmth, with patience, with grace, and your mind begins to heal. You whisper, I'm allowed to change. I'm allowed to grow. I'm allowed to rest. And your body listens. You begin to wonder, if words can soothe the mind, can the body speak back? You drift toward the next chapter, where breath becomes language and movement becomes meaning. Chapter 6. The body's role in thought. The summary of this chapter: your body listens to your mind, and your mind listens back. You explore how breath, posture, and movement influence emotion, and how physical calm supports mental clarity. Each gesture becomes a message. Each breath, a quiet invitation to peace. You begin with breath, noticing it, not changing it, just letting it be. It moves in, soft and slow. It moves out, like a tide retreating. Your chest rises, your shoulders fall, and something inside you begins to settle. This is where thought begins, not in words, but in rhythm. Your body is not separate from your mind. It is the stage on which thought performs. Each breath, each posture, each movement is a quiet signal that shapes how you feel and how you think. You lie still, but your body speaks. It says, I am safe. I am here. I am listening. And your mind responds. You begin to feel how physical calm creates mental space. Your nervous system is always watching, tracking tension, tracking breath, tracking posture. When your shoulders lift, your jaw tightens, your breath shortens. Your brain reads it as stress. When your spine softens, your breath deepens, your hands unclench. Your brain reads it as peace. This is the science of embodied cognition. Your body does not just carry thought, it shapes it. You sit upright, and your mind becomes alert. You curl inward, and your thoughts turn cautious. You stretch open, and your ideas begin to flow. You begin to notice how movement creates mood. A walk clears the fog, a stretch releases the weight. A gentle sway invites calm. You are not just thinking, you are feeling through motion. You imagine your body as a tuning fork. Each breath vibrates through your chest. Each movement sends a signal to your brain. You hum with sensation. You resonate with thought. You begin to explore the science of breath. Inhale slowly, hold gently, exhale longer. This pattern activates the parasympathetic system, the part of you that soothes. Your heart rate slows, your muscles soften, your mind begins to open. You are not forcing calm. You are inviting it. You imagine your breath as a lullaby. It sings to your brain, rest now, let go. You are safe, and your brain listens. You begin to feel how posture shapes perception. You slump, and the world feels heavier. You lift your chest, and possibility returns. This is not just habit, it is biology. Your spine is a messenger. Your stance is a signal. When you stand tall, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, chemicals of confidence and ease. When you curl inward, your brain prepares for defense. You begin to choose your posture with care. Not rigid, not forced, just open. You sit as if you are listening to yourself, and your thoughts begin to soften. You explore movement as medicine, a slow walk through quiet air, a gentle stretch before sleep, a sway to music only you can hear. These are not exercises, they are rituals. They tell your brain, I am alive, I am present, I am whole. You begin to feel how movement is memory. Your body remembers what your mind forgets. The way you tensed when afraid, the way you curled when ashamed, the way you froze when overwhelmed. But tonight, you move gently. You stretch with kindness. You breathe with care. You rest with intention. And your body begins to rewrite its story. You imagine your muscles as pages. Each breath turns one. Each movement edits a line. You are not erasing. You are softening. You begin to feel how physical calm supports mental clarity. When your body is tense, your thoughts scatter. When your body is soft, your thoughts return. You lie still, and your mind begins to settle. You are not empty. You are spacious. You imagine your body as a lake. Thoughts ripple across it, but beneath there is depth. You do not chase the ripples. You rest in the stillness. You begin to explore how sensation guides emotion. Warmth invites safety. Coolness invites alertness. Touch invites connection. You wrap yourself in a blanket. You feel the weight. You feel the warmth. And your brain reads it as comfort. You are not just thinking. You are sensing. You begin to feel how the body is a compass. It points you toward rest, toward movement, toward breath. You follow it. You stretch when you feel stuck. You walk when you feel foggy. You breathe when you feel tight. And slowly, your thoughts begin to shift. You are not escaping thought. You are guiding it through sensation. You imagine your body as a bridge. One side is emotion. The other is thought. And breath is the path between them. You walk it slowly. You walk it gently. You begin to feel how the body holds wisdom. It knows when to rest, when to move, when to pause. You listen. You do not rush. You do not push. You simply follow the rhythm of your breath. And your mind follows too. You lie there, soft and still, and you begin to feel how thought is not just in the brain, it is in the body. You are whole. You are connected. You are listening. And in this quiet, you begin to wonder, if the body can guide thought, can the brain learn to let go? You drift toward the next chapter, where release becomes renewal, and letting go becomes a way to grow. Chapter 7. The Brain That Learns to Let Go. The summary of this chapter: not every thought must stay. You explore cognitive pruning, the science of release, and how your brain clears space for peace to grow. Letting go becomes a quiet skill, and healing begins with what you no longer carry. You lie in the quiet, surrounded by stillness. The day has folded itself away, and your thoughts begin to settle. Some thoughts linger, some drift, some press gently against the edges of your awareness. You do not chase them. You do not resist. You simply notice. This is the beginning of letting go. Not with force, not with urgency, but with softness. You imagine your mind as a forest, each thought a branch. Some branches grow strong, some twist and tangle, some no longer bear fruit. And your brain, like the forest, prunes. This is not forgetting. It is choosing. Choosing what to keep. Choosing what to release. Choosing what no longer serves your growth. You begin to feel how letting go is not a failure. It is a function. Your brain is designed to clear space. This process is called cognitive pruning. It happens quietly, beneath your awareness. Neurons that are unused begin to fade. Connections that no longer help begin to dissolve. And in their place, space opens. Space for rest. Space for clarity. Space for peace. You imagine your thoughts as vines. Some climb toward light. Some curl inward. Some block the path. You do not cut them harshly. You guide them gently. You whisper, I no longer need this, and the vine loosens. You whisper, this thought has served its time, and the path clears. You begin to feel how release is a kindness. Your brain is not a vault, it is a garden, and gardens must be tended. You remember a thought that once felt urgent, a worry, a regret, a loop. You hold it softly, you thank it for what it taught, and you let it go. Not because it was wrong, but because it is no longer needed. You begin to feel how memory is not just storage, it is selection. Your brain chooses what to keep based on emotion, repetition, and relevance. And tonight, you choose to release. You imagine your mind as a river. Thoughts flow through. Some settle, some pass. You do not dam the river. You do not freeze it. You simply let it move. You whisper, I allow this to pass. And the current carries it. You whisper, I am not this thought. And the water clears. You begin to feel how identity is not defined by every passing idea. You are the space beneath the stream, not the ripples. You explore the science of synaptic pruning. In early life, your brain grows millions of connections, but not all are needed. So it prunes, it refines, it shapes itself through experience. This process does not end in childhood. It continues throughout life. Your brain is always learning what to keep and what to release. You begin to feel how clarity comes not from adding, but from subtracting. You imagine your thoughts as stars. Some shine brightly, some fade, some cluster into constellations. You do not need every star to navigate. You need only the ones that guide you. You whisper, I choose what lights my way. And the sky opens. You whisper, I let go of what dims my path. And the night becomes clear. You begin to feel how letting go is not emptiness, it is direction. You explore how emotion affects memory. Strong emotions etch thoughts deeply, but even these can soften. You remember a moment that once felt sharp. You breathe into it, you hold it gently. You allow it to fade, not erased, not denied, just no longer heavy. You begin to feel how healing is not forgetting, it is unburdening. You imagine your mind as a shelf. Some thoughts are dusty, some are broken, some are simply no longer yours. You begin to clear it, one by one, with care, with breath. You whisper, I release this, and the shelf lightens. You whisper, I make space for peace, and your mind begins to glow. You explore how attention shapes memory. What you focus on grows. What you ignore fades. You begin to choose your focus with intention. You turn toward kindness, toward calm, toward growth, and slowly the rest begins to fall away. You are not losing yourself. You are refining. You imagine your brain as a sculptor, each thought a piece of clay. Some pieces are shaped, some are smoothed, some are set aside. You do not need to keep every fragment. You whisper, I shape my mind with care. And the sculpture begins to emerge. You whisper, I let go to reveal what matters. And the form becomes clear. You begin to feel how release is creation. You explore how sleep supports pruning. During rest, your brain clears debris. It trims unused pathways. It strengthens what remains. Tonight, as you drift, your mind is quietly tending itself. You do not need to do anything. Just rest. Just breathe. Just allow. You imagine your thoughts as leaves. Some fall. Some stay. Some return. In new form. You do not grasp them. You do not chase them. You simply watch them drift. You whisper, I trust the process. And the wind carries them. You whisper, I am not what I release. I am what remains. And your heart softens. You lie there, quiet and open. And you begin to feel how letting go is not the end. It is the beginning. You are not empty. You are spacious. You are not lost. You are lightened. And in this space, you begin to wonder, if the brain can release, can it also grow in new directions? You drift toward the next chapter, where change becomes light, and healing begins with gentle repetition. Chapter 8. The Light of Neuroplasticity. The summary of this chapter: your brain is not fixed. It is a garden. You explore how repetition, attention, and emotion reshape neural pathways, and how healing begins with gentle change. Each thought becomes a seed, each moment a chance to grow. You begin in stillness. The night wraps around you like a soft shawl. Your breath moves slowly, and your thoughts begin to settle. You are not trying to change. You are simply noticing. Noticing the way your mind moves, the way it loops, the way it pauses. And beneath that noticing, a quiet truth begins to rise. Your brain is not fixed. It is fluid. It is alive. You imagine it not as a machine, but as a garden. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, is the soil beneath your thoughts. Each experience, each emotion, each repetition plants a seed. Some seeds grow strong, some fade, some wait patiently for the right conditions. You begin to feel how your attention is sunlight. What you focus on flourishes. What you ignore withers. You remember a moment when you practiced something new, a word, a movement, a thought. At first, it felt clumsy, unfamiliar, but slowly, with repetition, it became easier. This is neuroplasticity in motion, your brain rewiring itself through practice. You imagine your neurons as branches. Each time you repeat a thought, a connection strengthens. Each time you choose a new path, a new branch grows. You are not stuck, you are sculpting. You begin to feel how emotion shapes the soil. Strong emotions etch deep grooves: joy, fear, love, pain. These grooves become pathways, and your brain remembers them. But tonight, you choose gentle emotion. You choose calm. You choose kindness. And your brain begins to soften. You whisper, "I am safe." And a new path opens. You whisper, "I am learning." And the soil warms. You whisper, "I am allowed to grow." And the garden begins to bloom. You explore how repetition builds strength. Each time you return to a calming thought, you reinforce it. Each time you choose a kind word, you deepen its roots. You are not forcing change. You are nurturing it. You imagine your thoughts as stepping stones, each one a choice. You step gently. You step slowly, and the path begins to form. You begin to feel how small changes create lasting shifts. A breath, a pause, a reframed thought. These are not dramatic. They are quiet, but they matter. Your brain is listening. You explore how sleep supports growth. During rest, your brain consolidates what you've learned. It strengthens new connections. It clears old ones. Tonight, as you lie still, your brain is quietly tending its garden. You do not need to do anything. Just rest. Just breathe. Just allow. You imagine your brain as a forest. Some paths are well-worn. Some are overgrown. Some are waiting to be discovered. You begin to walk a new path. You whisper, "I choose peace." And the trees part. You whisper, "I choose healing." And the light filters in. You begin to feel how intention guides growth. You are not just reacting. You are choosing. Choosing what to repeat. Choosing what to feel. Choosing what to believe. And your brain responds. You explore how novelty sparks change. A new idea, a new sound, a new way of seeing. These moments light up your brain. They invite it to adapt. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be curious. You imagine your brain as a canvas, each experience a brushstroke. Some strokes are bold, some are soft, some are layered over time. You are painting your own mind. You whisper, I am creating. And the colors deepen. You whisper, I am evolving. And the image begins to glow. You begin to feel how healing is not a destination. It is a direction. You are not waiting to be whole. You are growing into wholeness. You explore how belief shapes biology. When you believe you can change, your brain becomes more flexible. Hope is a signal. It tells your neurons to keep reaching. You whisper, I believe in growth, and your mind leans toward light. You whisper, I believe in healing, and your thoughts begin to bloom. You imagine your brain as a garden after rain. The soil is soft, the air is still, and new life is quietly rising. You do not rush it, you do not force it, you simply tend it with care. You begin to feel how every moment is a chance to reshape, not with pressure, not with urgency, but with presence. You are here, you are listening, you are growing. You explore how connection supports change. When you feel safe, your brain opens. When you feel seen, your pathways strengthen. Kindness is a catalyst. You whisper, I am connected, and your neurons spark with warmth. You whisper, I am supported, and your mind begins to trust. You lie there, soft and open, and you begin to feel how your brain is always becoming. You are not a fixed story. You are a living poem. And in this quiet, you begin to wonder, if thoughts can change, what feelings have been waiting to be heard? You drift toward the next chapter, where emotion becomes language, and naming becomes a way to lighten the weight. Chapter 9. The Emotion That Wants to Be Heard. The summary of this chapter. Negative thoughts often hide deeper feelings. Tonight, you listen beneath the surface. You explore emotional granularity and how naming your truth can soften its weight. You lie in the quiet. The air is still. Your breath moves slowly, like a tide beneath moonlight. Thoughts drift in, some sharp, some vague, some heavy. You do not chase them. You do not silence them. You simply listen. One thought repeats, I'm not good enough. It echoes softly, like a distant bell. But tonight, you ask a gentle question. What feeling lives beneath this thought? You pause, you breathe, you wait. And slowly, a feeling rises. Not shame, not failure, but sadness. Sadness that wants to be seen. Sadness that has waited to be named. You begin to feel how thoughts are often masks. Beneath every harsh phrase is a feeling asking for attention. This is emotional granularity, the ability to name what you feel with precision. Not just bad, not just upset, but lonely, disappointed, overwhelmed, tender. You imagine your emotions as colors. Some are bold, some are muted, some blend into each other. You begin to name them. I feel anxious. The color is sharp, a flicker of red. I feel uncertain. The color is pale, a misty blue. I feel hopeful. The color is warm, a soft gold. And with each name, the weight shifts. You begin to feel how naming is a form of care. Your brain responds to clarity. It calms when confusion fades. You whisper, I feel left out. And your chest softens. You whisper, I feel proud. And your breath deepens. You whisper, I feel tired. And your body begins to rest. You explore how the brain processes emotion. Feelings begin in the body. A tight chest, a fluttering stomach, a lump in the throat. Then the brain tries to make sense of them. When you name the feeling, you give it shape. You give it edges. You give it room. You imagine your emotions as clouds. Some are stormy. Some are wisps. Some are waiting to be understood. You do not push them away. You do not rush them. You simply watch. And slowly, they begin to shift. You begin to feel how language is a lantern. It lights the corners of your inner world. Without it, feelings stay shadowed. With it, they begin to glow. You whisper, I feel nervous about tomorrow, and the shadow lifts. You whisper, I feel grateful for this quiet, and the light expands. You explore how emotional granularity supports resilience. When you name your feelings with care, you respond with wisdom. Instead of reacting, you reflect. Instead of spiraling, you soften. You imagine your emotions as guests. Each one knocks gently. You open the door. You ask their name. You offer them tea. And in that kindness, they begin to settle. You whisper, I see you. Frustration. And it sits quietly. You whisper, I hear you. Longing. And it sighs. You whisper, I welcome you. Joy. And it dances. You begin to feel how emotions are not problems. They are messages. Each one carries information. Each one asks to be heard. You explore how the brain categorizes emotion. Research shows that people who name their feelings with nuance cope better, heal faster, and connect more deeply. You are not just feeling, you are understanding. You whisper, I feel conflicted, and your mind begins to untangle. You whisper, I feel curious, and your thoughts begin to open. You whisper, I feel safe, and your body begins to rest. You imagine your emotions as notes in a melody. Some are low, some are high, some are quiet. You do not mute them. You do not rush them. You simply listen. And the music begins to make sense. You begin to feel how emotional clarity creates emotional peace. You are not drowning in feeling. You are floating in understanding. You explore how naming reduces intensity. When you say, I feel angry, the fire cools. When you say, I feel hurt, the ache softens. When you say, I feel joy, the light expands. You are not fixing emotion. You are witnessing it. And in that witnessing, healing begins. You imagine your emotions as waves. Each one rises. Each one falls. You do not brace against them. You ride them with presence. You whisper, I feel overwhelmed. And the wave carries you gently. You whisper, I feel peaceful. And the water becomes still. You lie there, soft and open, and you begin to feel how your emotions want to be heard. Not judged, not solved, just named. And in that naming, you find space. Space to breathe. Space to rest. Space to grow. You begin to wonder, if emotions can be softened by naming, what happens when your whole mind begins to bloom? You drift toward the next chapter, where clarity becomes calm and your thoughts begin to glow with possibility, a gentle bloom in the garden of your mind. Chapter 10. The Bloom of a Calmer Mind. The summary of this chapter. You've wandered through distortion, emotion, and renewal. Now you rest in the truth. Your mind can change. Tonight, you sleep in the glow of possibility and wake to a softer way of thinking. The garden of your mind begins to bloom. You lie beneath the hush of night. The air is still. Your breath moves slowly, like a tide brushing the edge of a quiet shore. You've wandered far, through tangled thoughts, through aching emotions, through the fog of old beliefs. And now you arrive at something softer, a clearing, a quiet, a bloom. Tonight, you rest in the truth. Your mind can change, not just in theory, not just in hope, but in structure, in rhythm, in reality. This is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself through experience, attention, and care. You imagine your brain as a garden. Each thought is a seed, each emotion a breeze, each moment of awareness a drop of rain. And slowly, new pathways begin to grow. You've spent years walking the same trails, the ones carved by habit, by fear, by memory. But tonight, you pause. You turn gently. You step into new soil. You begin to feel how change begins not with force, but with noticing. You notice the thought, I always mess things up. You do not argue. You do not agree. You simply ask, is this the only path? And something shifts. You imagine your neurons as branches, each one reaching, searching, connecting. When you repeat a thought, the branch grows stronger. When you choose a new one, a new branch begins. You whisper, I'm learning, and a new connection forms. You whisper, I'm allowed to grow, and the garden expands. You begin to feel how attention is the sunlight of change. What you focus on, you strengthen. You focus on calm. You focus on kindness. You focus on truth. And slowly, your mind begins to bloom. You explore how emotion shapes cognition. When you feel safe, your brain opens. When you feel threatened, it narrows. You imagine your thoughts as petals. Fear closes them. Peace unfolds them. You whisper, I am safe now. And the petals begin to open. You whisper, I am allowed to rest. And the bloom begins. You begin to understand how your nervous system responds to rhythm. Slow breath, soft voice, gentle repetition. These are signals of safety. They tell your brain, you are not in danger. You are allowed to heal. You breathe in. You breathe out. You feel the shift. Your heart slows. Your muscles soften. Your thoughts become gentle. You explore how repetition rewires the brain. Each time you choose calm, you strengthen the pathway. Each time you choose kindness, you deepen the groove. You whisper, I am enough. And the echo grows stronger. You whisper, I am learning to trust myself. And the roots grow deeper. You imagine your brain as a forest. Some paths are worn. Some are new. Some are waiting to be discovered. You do not rush. You do not force. You simply walk. And with each step, the forest changes. You begin to feel how healing is not a destination. It is a direction. You are not trying to be perfect. You are learning to be present. You are not erasing the past. You are planting new seeds. You whisper, I am here. And the moment blooms. You explore how belief shapes perception. When you believe you are broken, you see cracks. When you believe you are growing, you see roots. You whisper, I am becoming. And the world softens. You whisper, I am allowed to change. And the light shifts. You begin to feel how your thoughts are not facts. They are stories. And stories can be rewritten. You imagine your mind as a canvas. Each thought, a brushstroke. Each emotion, a hue. You do not erase the past. You layer over it with new color. You whisper, I choose peace. And the canvas glows. You whisper, I choose compassion. And the image deepens. You explore how sleep supports transformation. During rest, your brain consolidates memory, clears waste, and strengthens new connections. You are not just resting. You are rebuilding. You imagine your dreams as gardeners. They prune, they water, they tend. And in the morning, you wake to a mind that has quietly changed. You begin to feel how rest is not passive. It is powerful. You whisper, I trust the process. And the soil settles. You whisper, I am blooming. And the roots hold firm. You lie there, soft and open, and you begin to feel the glow of possibility. Your mind is not fixed. It is fluid. It is alive. You are not stuck. You are unfolding. You whisper, I am ready. And the bloom expands. You begin to wonder, if thoughts can shape emotion, and emotion can shape thought, what secret link connects them? You are gently invited to continue with the next episode, where we will discover how feeling good is more than a passing mood. It is a signal, a guide, and a bridge between mind and body. Together, we will explore how joy can be nurtured, how emotions can be balanced, and how your thoughts can become companions on your path to healing. If this journey speaks to you, I warmly invite you to subscribe and return here so that each new chapter finds you again, like an old friend. But for now, rest in the quiet bloom of a calmer mind. Good night, gentle soul. May your breath stay soft, your dreams remain kind, and your thoughts carry you peacefully into the garden of sleep.